Hey, what's up, everybody? We're back with another edition of 95X Cares, your community animal rescue effort that's brought to you by the Law Office of William Mattar. It's Dixon here with Jenny. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Fall has arrived. So sorry for you. Very excited for me.
I don't mind fall. Fall's fine.
Okay.
I don't like winter.
I know. One day it's gonna just like creep up on you and bring you happiness.
That day's never gonna come.
All
It could be
right.
fall year round, and I would totally be fine with that.
Oh, that'd be pretty cool. I'm here for that too. I Let's pretend.
Unfortunately, I don't think of that place exists on planet Earth.
Probably not. Maybe it needs some like Google searching. Somebody needs to reach out to us and say this is where we need to live.
You do the research, and we'll do the on-site research for you.
Perfect.
Excellent. Well, as fun as that was, we have a sad story that actually makes me kind of mad, and I'm going to let you kind of tell it because I'm gonna get out of sorts if I do.
Okay. So it is a story about a dog, a 18-month-old Rottweiler named Jett, whose owners recently brought her to the vet. And I'll tell you how they brought her in just a second. Um, but they brought her to the vet to have her euthanized. And when she arrived at the vet, they were traveling in like a sedan, like a small sedan. The dog wasn't inside the car. The dog was stuffed in the trunk of the car. Um, the collar has been all sorts of weathered and was rusted onto her. Um, Tons of fly bites, losing hair on the backside of her ears. So just in pretty poor condition. Um, but otherwise, an extremely healthy young dog. Um, and the owners brought her to the vet and basically just said, we don't want her. We'd like you to euthanize her. So I wish I knew which vet this was because I would 1000% give them a huge, huge, huge kudos because they said no. They said, absolutely not. We're not euthanizing this puppy. Because 18-month-old, right? That's still a puppy, especially for a Rottweiler. Um, they said, no, absolutely not. But instead of sending the dog home with these people, they said, you can sign the dog over to us. And the people agreed. They agreed to relinquish their rights to the dog, signed it over to the vet. And the vet reached out to their friends at CNY Canine Academy, which is like a doggy daycare based in Baldwinsville, New York. And they just said, hey, listen, like, we know that you guys have experience with this breed of dog. This dog is fantastic, but clearly is lacking some social skills and could really work on that. Would you guys be willing to take this dog? And they did. So they stepped up and they said, sure. So they had the dog in their possession. The dog is playing wonderfully with other dogs, learning how to like properly interact and be social and not be afraid of everything. Um, so huge thank you to them because it's not very often that we're like, hey, there's this dog that's up for adoption through a doggy daycare. Um, but as you and I both know, all of our rescues and shelters, they're inundated constantly with requests to abandon, surrender, etc. dogs and all the amount of different strays that they're taking in, they can't take more. Um, so I'm just really grateful that Jett is still here and that the vet had said no. Um, Super heartbroken about her start, right? Because I don't know what those 18 months entailed, but of traveling in the trunk of a car and coming in with a rusty collar and a bunch of fly bites and missing fur is any indication of what her life was like that sucks. So
Well, the
here's
fly
an
bites,
opportunity.
right? That
Well,
indicates the fly bites mean
yeah.
they're stuck outside
Mhm.
on a short tether, right? So that she couldn't get away from the flies, or she was living in such filth
Right.
that the flies were consistently on her. And either of those situations is unacceptable and borderline torture.
hmm Yeah, and it's one of those things too that like we talk a lot about how animals are family, right? And if you're gonna take on a pet, like treat them like they're your family. Like they depend on you for literally everything, for their exercise, their food, their bathing, their healthcare. Like 100%, it is you. So when you take on an animal, just remember that it's a huge commitment financially, emotionally, physically, right? That all these things. Like, so you have to make sure that you have the space and the capacity to take something like that on. Um, these people clearly didn't. And knowing that if they had called a rescue or a shelter, they were more than likely were told, like, we don't have space for you. There's nothing that we can do. And I know that that's the reality, but to show up at your vet and be like, well, we don't want this dog. And the dog's 18 months old. Like, that's super rough. And I know that if like certain phone calls like were made, somebody would have made space for this dog to come into like a foster type program. Um, it's one of those like you can't believe that it happened, but it happens all the time. And here is another purebred dog. She's absolutely stunning, and I hope that she captures somebody's attention just in these pictures that we're going to share. Um, but she is a beautiful, beautiful dog and a purebred, right? Because everybody likes to say, oh, there's no purebreds in shelters and no purebreds that are up for adoption. There are lots of them. You just have to make the phone calls, call around, know what you're looking for, know breeds, right? And breeds personalities. And hopefully Jett finds a family who can teach her that she's worth something and worth loving, and that she gets to kind of know that TLC that every dog should have the opportunity to experience.
My guess is the kind of people that transport their dog in the trunk probably made like one half-assed ignorant phone call to one shelter, was told no, and then just went to the vet. That's my guess, right?
Yeah.
With that kind of behavior, kind of it gives.
Honestly, the traveling in the trunk of the car thing is so like shocking to me. It's like something that you see in like movies when people get kidnapped and like you're shoved in the trunk of a car. Um, so even like that, like these are the people that strike me as like the type that probably would have starved a dog to death or done something to the dog themselves. So going to the vet definitely was better than that alternative. And again, like whoever this vet is, like if they see this video, I just want to say thank you for doing your due diligence and really just like because I know that
Good
the
person.
reality is that there's a lot of people who'd be like, yeah, there's nowhere for this dog to go and we have to euthanize. Like shelters have to euthanize for space. Like that's a reality that we go through. Um, and a lot of the times the dogs are healthy. Like there's really just nothing wrong with them other than the fact that we don't have space for incoming dogs. And if the time's up, like there's really nothing that you can do. But so this vet chose to give Jett some time and the time to find the right home and find a family who's going to love her because she is a lovable dog. And I'm uh, already like feeling like really like lucky for whoever decides to take her in. And I hope that it's soon so that she really just gets to experience these puppy years that she's still kind of in um, and grow to an adult that can kind of put this crappy start behind her.
Absolutely. And the thing I do want to point out too is you can just tell in these photos the sadness that she's carrying with her, right? Like I've never seen a dog frown,
Yeah.
right? Like you look at these pictures and her eyes aren't just sad. Like I've never seen a frown on a dog so prominent before.
Oh yeah. And you know that this dog can make like a happy face too. Like if you get this dog going and like playing fetch or like giving her belly rubs or something, she probably has like a really goofy dog smile. But these pictures really like just tell like a story. Like her eyes are just so soulful. And like if you look at that, like you know that she's not happy. So she's not currently living her best life, but she's definitely getting a great start at CNY Canine. So I'm thrilled and so grateful to them for stepping up for her. And if you haven't heard of them, check them out. And if you're interested in adopting Jett, reach out to them. I believe that they have their email. Is that right?
It's on the screen right now. It's been on the screen the whole time. I forgot to mention it earlier, but it's right there.
Beautiful.
And
Beautiful.
again, right, info at CNYCanineAcademy.com. You can read it right off the screen. But if you're listening to this and not watching, it is info at CNYCanineAcademy.com.
Perfect.
And somebody's going to adopt Jett because take it from somebody who's had two female Rottweilers in my life. Uh, you will know that you are loved
Hmm.
whenever they're near you, right? Like they are,
100%.
and two very different dogs, but both of them are, they were attached to your hip, right?
That's
Like you were
awesome.
on the couch, they were on the couch. You were going for a walk, they were going for a walk.
Yeah,
And
you walk into the fridge, me too.
yeah,
Go into the bathroom, sure, I'll keep you company. Like that is,
yeah, there's a certain pittiness to them with their
Mhm.
attachment to their human, especially the female Rotties. And you can just
I
tell.
love it.
So, um, I wish Mr. Wiggles was better because this would be ideal. But that being said, Jet's available now. Info's on the screen, and we will be back next week with hopefully a happier story. But none of these are really happy.
I know. Well, we'll see what we can do.
Excellent. Well, Jenny, enjoy the beginning of fall, and I will see you next week.
We'll see you then.
95X Cares is your community animal rescue effort, and it's brought to you by the Law Office of William McTaw. See you next week.